Charlottesville demonstration where he's quoted saying, "You also had some very fine people on both sides."
Well, I'm glad you asked that because the media has really completely distorted the truth of that episode. What he meant, and he said so when he said it, is that they're fine people who want to get rid of Robert E. Lee's statue, and they're fine people who are not haters, who believe for historical reasons they want to keep that statue. And he made that clear. And then in the same breath, Mr. Gomer, in the same breath, President Trump said, quote, I'm not talking
about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
And yet the media has never made that clear, that he, in that statement, he condemned neo-Nazis and white nationalists. He did not mean that they were fine people. Quite the contrary. He's disgusted by those people.
And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
Trump's statements in the aftermath of Charlottesville provided aid and comfort to white supremacists. I don't see any way around that.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
Trump's statements in the aftermath of Charlottesville provided aid and comfort to white supremacists.
He didn't say there were good Nazis and
he said there were good people on both sides,
yes,
on the Friday night.
You take a look the night before, many of those people were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. So I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week? And is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? You had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent.
You think he was saying that there were good Nazis? Do you believe he believes
I think he was saying there were good
Nazis?
people who were marching, not good Nazis. I think what he was saying is that there were good people who were marching with the Nazis.
So here's my Talmudic proof that he didn't say that.
Okay.
Because he doesn't believe there's good Antifa.
I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups.
What do you see as the biggest problem with the Reform Party right now?
Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party.
How do you feel about the David Duke quasi-endorsement?
I don't know the answer to the first, who knows why, but I don't need his endorsement. I certainly wouldn't want his endorsement. I don't need anybody's endorsement.
Would you repudiate David Duke?
Sure, I would do that if it made you feel better. I would certainly repudiate. I don't know anything about him.
How do you feel about the recent endorsement from David Duke?
I didn't even know he endorsed me. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow, okay?
Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists.
3 times in this interview, I don't know who David Duke is, and you refuse to disavow or distance yourself from him. Now, a lot of people are scratching their heads over that because, number one, you disavowed David Duke 2 days prior.
I disavow, okay?
Why not disavow David Duke, disavow the KKK? What's going on?
Well, I know who he is, but I never met David Duke. And the question was asked about David Duke and various groups, and I don't know who the groups are.
David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, and you said, honestly, I don't know David Duke.
I'm sitting in a house in Florida with a very bad earpiece that they gave me, and you could hardly hear what he was saying. But what I heard was various groups, and I don't mind disavowing anybody, and I disavowed David Duke, and I disavowed him the day before at a major news conference.
I said, I disavow. And I disavowed then. I disavowed today on ABC with George Stephanopoulos. I disavowed again. I mean, how many times are you supposed to disavow? But I disavow, and hopefully it's the final time I have to do it. How many times do I have to reject? I've rejected David Duke. I've rejected the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. From the time I'm 5 years old, I rejected them.
From his unwillingness to condemn David Duke on CNN.
David Duke is saying to his supporters and followers, vote for Donald Trump. White supremacists are saying, vote. Do you want those votes?
No, I don't want them, and I don't want him to say it. I can't help if he says it.
What do you think of white supremacists, by the way?
I don't like any group of hate. Hate groups are not for me.